Sorry, Steve. Looks like you're muted. There you go.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. It's 12 noon here in Texas, which means it's time to start our weekend webinar for self-directed IRAs. I'm Steve Sabaji. I'm coming to you today from our office here in Austin, and we will be joined shortly by Ryan McCarthy, who is going to give us a little bit of an overview on lending and other ways to leverage your self-directed IRA. But before we begin, I want to start with just a quick presentation on us and Quest and who we are and what we do. Give me 1 second to just get this set up. All right. So, as I said, today is going to be the self-directed
It doesn't look
IRA.
like the webinar is showing. I
beg your pardon?
Doesn't look like the screen share is showing.
Screen share is not showing? Oh my. Hey. How's that?
Sorry, we still don't see anything.
All right. My apologies. Still nothing, Juan? Juan?
Nothing. Hold up a sec. I'll help you out.
Oh, you know what? I apologize for this. Are we fixed?
Yep, looks good.
Go.
All right. Thank you. I apologize for the difficulties. Anyway, as I was saying, we'll go into our webinar and we'll begin with Ryan very shortly. But first, let me tell you a little bit more about Quest and Quest Trust Company itself. So we are the largest self-directed IRA custodian in the state of Texas, but we do have a nationwide clientele and reach of over 20,000 investors all over the country. Currently, we are administering in excess of $2 billion assets under management, and we have well over 100 employees now, many of whom have received additional training in the area as being IRA service professionals and certified IRA specialists as well. Currently, we're also sitting on about $350 million in undirected cash. So I hope many of you are here that are in that situation to listen to Ryan, because he's going to have a lot of great ideas in terms of what you can potentially do with that money. But we have clients looking basically to make deals. Now, just a quick disclaimer, please remember the purpose of this session and my presentation here is purely for education. Those of us here at Quest Trust, we do not provide anything in the way of legal, tax, or investment advice. And remember that you should always do your due diligence before entering into any deal and perhaps run it by a CPA, an attorney, or a financial professional who you work with. Just an update in terms of some of the services that we've been providing. We have now gone online with our client portal, which is a few months old now, but I have to tell you, I've been getting a lot of great feedback on the portal in terms of its functionality and what it lets you do, how it lets you streamline the process for an investment and complete things much quicker with a lot less paperwork. And the one thing that I really like about the portal as much as anything is that you do not lose the Quest customer service experience by using the portal. It still offers you the ability to work one-to-one with a specialist in the asset class that you're working on. That is a person you are able to message through the portal. Of course, you can always pick up the phone and call them, but it's that one-to-one guidance. The person will help you from the beginning to the end of your transaction, and you can actually monitor the progress of the transaction in real time. So again, anecdotally, I can tell you, I've been hearing a lot of great things about the portal. We're still updating it and improving it as we go, but so far the results and what we've seen with it have been just tremendous. Now, as evidenced by today, and I'm sure many of you know, Quest still does a great deal in the way of ongoing education for clients. Among the things that we do are education resources that we have by way of our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and of course, the Education Center on questtrustcompany.com on our website. Also in the area of networking, one of the popular things that we are continuing to do is what we call our virtual happy hour. It's the first and third Wednesday of each month, and it gives people from around the country an opportunity to get together, have a beer, share a glass of wine, and talk about what they're looking to do, whether they are offering investments, whether they are looking for investments, or anything of that nature. People get a chance to tell who they are, tell what they're looking for, put their communication information into the chat box, and then everybody takes it from there. Now, of course, we also have webinars each week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We have self-directed IRA Saturday like today. And then, of course, all the other resources as well. And it's worth mentioning as well that any of these sessions that you do see are archived on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. Lastly, in terms of new accounts and account holders, our best resources for new accounts are our current clients. And with that said, we do actually offer a benefit for clients who refer clients over to us, new business. So you send somebody my way, not only will I set up their account, but they will get a referral credit of $25 off the account opening fee. And as the referrer, you will also get a $25 credit to your self-directed IRA. And this is an unlimited benefit. So the more people that you refer, the more credits you get. And I've had a bunch of people lately who've been taking advantage of this offer, and it's a real win-win. So as I'm wrapping up here, this is our contact information. You can scan that QR code on your screen and you'll be able to get in touch with the IRA specialists. This is a link that will allow you to set up a time if you would like to have a consultation with one of us. We will certainly be able to get back to you. Or there are the other methods, the old traditional ways of doing things, with going on the live chat through questtrust.com. You might even see me in the chat box one day. You might see my name. You can always call us as well. And of course, you can just use our straight up email box, IRA specialists at questtrust.com. And I'm sure Sarah's going to be plugging a couple of these things into the chat box as well, if you missed it here. Okay, so with that, I am going to get ready to turn this back over to our featured speaker. Ryan, you ready to go?
Yes, Steve, I'm ready.
All right, give us the scoop. I understand you're going to be doing a lot in the way of case studies today.
Yeah.
Explaining some of the things that your clients have done there at Passive Investors Network. And I was pretty interested when we were talking a little bit before about how you said it's kind of about leverage and it's about time. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm Ryan. I'm with the Passive Investor Network, PIN. We're here in Houston, Texas. We're, effectively, without going too far into it, we're a vertically integrated real estate investment service. So from portfolio advising all the way to property management and everything in between, deal sourcing, construction, leasing and listing, and property managing and disposition. So, what we provide is a relatively passive experience for our clients to invest in real estate here in Houston currently. So the thing that I'm going to be talking about today is something that, I don't know if it gets a lot of run. When I found out that this was a thing that was possible about 3 years ago, I got really excited about it. And it's doing non-recourse loans in your self-directed IRA. And so let me pop up my my screen here. We good? Can everyone see that?
Yep, looks good.
Okay. So self-directed IRA non-recourse loan. So effectively, there are strategic partners that Quest works with and that we work with that will actually loan to the IRA, to your self-directed IRA through that entity. And the key points we're going to talk about is what is a non-recourse loan and how does it work through a self-directed IRA. We're going to talk about leverage as just a key component of real estate in general. We're going to talk about types of loans and the lenders that will actually do this. And then we're going to do some case studies. I was telling Steve, it's been a little while since I put these together. We started this, like I said, 3 years ago. And so I have some case studies from then. I have a case study from a couple years ago. I have a case study from a year ago, almost exactly. And I have one that we're doing. Actually, we're going to close on it next week. So it kind of runs the gamut. And these returns are pretty incredible. So, hang on for that. So first and foremost, non-recourse loan. A non-recourse loan is effectively a loan that has no recourse. The only recourse that the lending institution has is against the asset that is collateralized as the loan. So if, worst comes to worst and you can't pay the loan for whatever reason, which shouldn't be a problem on a rental property, they take the asset. There is no recourse to an individual, to anyone personally. And obviously the benefit is that, the risk always in taking a loan, whether it's your personal home or your car or credit card or anything, is that you can't pay it at some point. And then what happens? It gets on your credit, they come after you, they get a judgment, they could do, a multitude of things that makes life pretty uncomfortable. But this particular it's non-recourse. So it's also put specifically into the actual trust itself, the IRA trust with Quest as the conservator of that trust. Is that the right word? Anyway, conservator, I think it is. And so it's specifically only, in that as an individual, you don't have a personal guarantee on that. And I think that's pretty cool, from a risk factor. So let's talk about why you would do it. So leverage. Now, a lot of people go out and they buy real estate. And in an IRA, a lot of people will buy it cash. That's fine. Buying real estate is never going to be a bad idea. But one of the pillars of building wealth in real estate is, number one, the tax benefits, right? And we know we have those in a self-directed IRA anyway. And that's why it's smart to have a self-directed IRA. But the other side of this is leverage. So for instance, using other people's money to basically leverage and get, adjusted or amplify your actual cash on hand, whether it's cash on hand or whether it's in a self-directed IRA, you want to amplify the amount of money you have in order to be able to leverage it to get outsized returns. So for instance, if we just take $100,000 house, right? Which in Houston, unfortunately doesn't really exist anymore, but it's a hypothetical, discussion. So $100,000 house, if you buy that cash for $100,000 and that property goes up 10%, $10,000, you've made 10% on your $100,000 investment. If you leverage that same investment and you get let's say a 50% loan, $50,000, you get a loan for 50, you come with 50,000 from your IRA or whatever, and that property goes up that same $10,000, that's a 20% return on investment. So that's the magic of leverage. And that's why it makes sense to use leverage. Being able to do that in your IRA is it's magical. It's amazing that you're able to actually get that leverage. It's almost like buying stocks on margin, but without any of the nightmarish risk that's involved there. So it's extremely, extremely important in looking at how do we get some, not just get a good return on our investment, but maybe we can get some outsized returns. Also, if maybe we don't have enough money to go and buy a house 100% cash. In that case, you would have to maybe lend your money out to someone that is able to do that, or whatever the case may be. But in this, using leverage, we can actually go out and we can buy a house where 100% of that money is coming back in the IRA. So the types of loans and lenders runs the gamut. So first and foremost, there's a straight purchase, and I'm going to give you some examples of these in the case studies. The straight purchase, where you're just buying a house, it's already renovated, it's already rehabbed. In some cases, we've done it where there's already a tenant in place, and it's already cash flowing immediately. And there are some good lenders specifically for that, like First Western, South Star Bank, are two that come to mind. And I think they're on the vendor list for Quest IRA. I'm sure Steve can get that information. There's a refinance. Let's say some of you have gone out and you've already bought some properties cash. You can actually go to these institutions and get a cash out refi in your self-directed IRA. We actually had a client that did this and ended up, I think, unlocking a couple $100,000 in his IRA to go out and buy more using leverage. He refinanced some of the stuff he already had in his IRA, which I think was, that's tremendous to be able to unlock that and literally double your return at that point. You can do fix and flip. There are hard money lenders that will actually do a non-recourse loan. There's a couple, and I'm sure a couple here in Houston, and I'm sure that Quest has some other folks that'll do that. But hard money, if you want to do a flip, or if you want to do like we do, is fix and rent, so a buy and hold, you can do that too, where you're actually rolling in not only the purchase, the acquisition, but you're also rolling in the repairs as well, and you're getting a loan for that as well. So one thing we're doing, one thing we're going to talk about is a build to rent. So in Houston, BTRs are starting to become pretty commonplace for a multitude of reasons. The market has shifted. Real estate has gone up. Rents have gone up. So building from the ground up actually makes a lot of sense. And here at Penn, we're heavily involved in that. These loans are for commercial as well. So you could do multifamily. You could do single family, as I mentioned. They'll loan on office buildings and retail and kind of everything in between, just kind of depending on the deal structure. So from what I've seen, the lenders will lend anywhere from 50 to 75% loan to cost, which means, whatever the total cost of that project is, they'll loan that certain percentage of it. Some will lend on LTV, like a hard money lender will lend on the loan to value of the after repair value of whatever property or project you're working on. Some of the refinances, cash out refis, they will actually do a LTV on the back end, which is, and I'll show you an example of that as well. Rates are interesting because they vary from lender to lender. And really the way I describe, this is commercial lending. This is not a Fannie Mae loan. This is not Freddie Mac. This is a very specific financial tool. So the way I describe it is, the different rates and terms will vary from lender to lender, and even specific lenders will have different rates and terms. And what I kind of describe it with, like if you have a balloon and you squeeze one into the balloon, it kind of blows up here. You squeeze this in, it blows up here. What I'm talking about is maybe the amortization schedule. So they'll do an amortization of maybe 15 years, 20 years, 25, even 30-year amortization. The interest rates might be, for anywhere from 5 to 7%. They might have a 5-year balloon where they do a 5-year or a 7-year or a 10-year where it's locked with a balloon at the end of it, and those amortizations will change. So, in terms of the terms themselves, each lender is different. So like I said, Quest, I'm sure has the list of the folks that'll do these non-recourse loans. So just give them a call and kind of do your homework on what makes sense along those lines. Because every project and every deal, I think, the terms obviously will make a difference. So you want to get the right lender for that right deal. So let's talk about the deals themselves. Okay. So these are some case studies that we've actually done in-house here at Penn. And so we've found the property for them. We did the construction if need be. Our portfolio advisor sat with them and went over the numbers. And then they're being managed by Penn, leased and managed by Penn. So this is one I wanted to kind of, for this, I wanted to give you guys an understanding of the timing of this. So a lot of times when you're doing case studies, it's in real time. Like, oh, what are we doing now? What are we doing? A couple of days ago, yesterday, last year, whatever. I wanted to go from this particular project on Tompkins here. This was one that a client bought 3 years ago. And, if you bought real estate 3 years ago in Houston, it was really hard not to make a profit, but this was something that he did in his self-directed IRA through a lender out of North Dakota called First Western. And what they did was they did a straight purchase. So this actual property was already fixed, and it was fixed, but the seller actually we went and we negotiated. They did some work on this property. They did some like a little foundation work and some other like electrical things. But, point being is that when the client actually closed on this property, it was rent ready. And so we went out and listed it on the market and ended up getting, I think at the time it was renting for $1,650, somewhere in there. And today that same property rents for $1,800. So the sales price on that property, and this was in late 2018, early 2019, was $150,000, and it's over here in Baytown, Texas, which is a pretty good emerging market. The non-recourse loan amount was $105,000, so it was something like 60%. I think is what it ended up being. With the fees and everything that, the closing costs, et cetera, this client invested from their self-directed IRA about $50,000. So year to date, so this was 2018, now it's 2021. The total cash flow that this individual's gotten is $26,000. That money, just so you know, goes right back. It never touches his hand. It goes right back into the IRA. Everything comes out of the IRA. Everything goes right back into the IRA. So you have no risk of a disqualification or commingling any funds. It goes right back in, and it's all accounted for. So at the end of the year, you can show it to your CPA. And if there's any, there could be, UBIT. But I know that, you can depreciate. So, talk to your CPA about the tax implications, but that money is accounted for and it goes right back into the IRA and it never touches the individual's hands. And so, that property, going back to the numbers here, has cash flowed about $26,000. So initially they put $50,000 out of pocket. Now they have $26,000. They've almost, got 50% return just in that. And then the equity with appreciation. So, Baytown, as most of Houston is appreciating at just a rapid pace. So this same house is now worth about $250,000 if you use comparative market analysis. Obviously, given the fact that cash flow that this gentleman is making, I doubt he's ready to sell. I think he's pretty happy with the money that's coming back in. But again, he'll talk to his portfolio advisor, and maybe it does make sense. I mean, there's $100,000 there that they can leverage to actually go out and maybe do some more. So this was one we did starting 3 years ago, and that's the returns over a 3-year period. And I was telling Steve I wanted to talk about that because a lot of people don't understand that these returns, they make money over time. So if you leverage it properly over time, those returns can just be completely outsized. So it's real estate, they say it's more location. You've heard this. My opinion is it's all timing, and now's the right time for sure. So let's talk about Acorn Springs. This was another property. This property was actually already rented. They closed on this 2 years ago. It's a property here in Spring, Texas, which is appreciating like crazy as well. This property, the people who rented the property when this client bought this property still live in it. So that they've literally had to do nothing but sign some paperwork and get this cash flow. So 2 years, the sales price was $135,000. The loan amount was $88,000. So they invested $52,000 roughly from their self-directed IRA. Total cash flow is year to date. It's about $9,000 that they've gotten back in. And the cash flow, I want to be clear. This includes everything. This includes insurance. This includes the mortgage payment, right? This includes the property taxes. This is net. So they've gotten that money net, $9,000 on their $52,000 investment. And this particular property has appreciated. I think the ARV or the after repair value of this property when they bought it was $155, somewhere in there, $150,000. So they got pretty good equity capture, about $15,000 on day one when they bought this property. But it's probably a $190,000 to $200,000 property now if they went to put it on the market to sell it, which again, I doubt they will, given the fact that they're making some pretty good cash flow, and that equity is not going anywhere, and it's probably going to keep going up, just given the fact of where it's located in Houston itself. So about $75,000. That doesn't include one thing I'd left out of this because it kind of it gets a little complicated. Plus, I think the returns are good enough. Is the principal pay down? So every time the rent is paid and they go make their mortgage payment, not only are they making a profit, they're also paying down that mortgage. So let's say you have a 5-year loan with a balloon. In 5 years, and if it's amortized at maybe 10 or 15 years, you may not be making that cash flow, but you're paying this down. Over 5 years, you can be pretty close at owning this thing free and clear. So not only are you owning it free and clear, but you have that pop of appreciation along those lines. So it just kind of keeps rolling. So let's go to the next one. This is one that this gentleman actually is who I was talking about, where he went out. He had some properties that were purchased cash in his self-directed IRA. He went and refinanced those properties, got cash out refi, and then actually bought this property using a direct loan. This one was actually a fix and rent. So it was a property that needed about $40,000 worth of work. He bought it for $98,000, and the loan itself included the acquisition or part of the acquisition and part of the rehab. I think it was something like 60% loan to cost. So you take that cost and multiply it by 60%. That loan amount was about $60,000 or $59,000 here. So he invested $80,000 from his self-directed IRA. And this was like I said, a year ago. August was exactly a year. So the total cash flow during that time has been $8,000. So 10% just in cash flow alone. And of course, again, the appreciation factor, $35,000 that this guy's made. So roughly, $42,000, $43,000 that he's made on his initial $80,000. And this is year one, which is arguably, and anyone in real estate will tell you, the first year you own a piece of property is probably the worst returns for a multitude of reasons. And, like I said, this guy's cash flowing at a breakneck pace. And it's appreciating. And again, the principal is being paid down. I doubt he's going to realize that appreciation anytime soon, because he wants to keep cash flowing along those lines. So, I was telling Steve, I was like, man, as I was putting these things together, I'm like, man, it seems a little too good to be true, but it really comes down to it's leverage. That's the magic, is just leverage to be able to get these outsized returns. This is one we're doing. Actually, we're closing on this one next week, and this is the first build to rent that we're going to do inside of an IRA. So what this client is actually doing is they're going to fund the project completely, 100% in their IRA. So $240,000 roughly to purchase the lot and then also do the construction on the new build. That includes, replatting, permits, engineered drawings, architectural drawings, et cetera, et cetera. And, we're doing it in-house. The team at Penn is fulfilling on this. He's coming and he's going to fund it through Quest IRA, through a self-directed IRA. And so probably 4 to 6 months, he'll have a brand new house, and you see them right here, these drawings. These are 25 by 100 lots, just skinny, 1,650 square feet right here on the in the inside the loop here in Houston, which is just a great hot market right now. We just received yesterday the appraisals, and so this is after repair value. So the appraiser goes out and says, okay, I've seen the drawings, I've seen the engineered drawings and what you're going to do and all the finishes. If you finish this house to those specs, it will be worth $315,000 at that point. The plan is, there's some optionality here, which I like. So, 4 to 6 months, he could decide, you know what, I don't want to rent it out. I just want to sell it. We can flip it. We'll put it on the market, get the equity, right? Or what the plan A is to refinance this property. So they'll refinance this, a cash out refi, on a loan to value basis. So they'll go and they'll get an appraisal on this, just like he did for the initial diligence. And they'll loan, I think, depending on the lender, around 60% loan to value on this property. So that would be cash coming back into the IRA so they can go and do more. And this property will be, cash flowing, as it gets rented, and, maybe hold it a year, maybe hold it 2 years. I don't know what the portfolio advisor has advised along those lines, but you got some options there. So your total invested, if you're going to refinance it, would be about $51,000. Cash flow on something like this will be $3,000 a year, estimated, with the current rents in that area. And then your equity capture is about $85,000. Which, I mean, if you can get it refinanced and you put 51 in it and you got $85,000, that's a pretty good return. You could definitely retire on that. So that's it. That's my case for using self-directed IRAs to buy real estate, and furthermore using leverage within those self-directed IRAs. And I think the case studies, speak for themselves. These are real people doing real estate in their IRAs. It's not a theory. It's not okay, maybe if this happens and that happens. It's this is real time happening here in Houston. So that's all I got, Steve. If you do want to reach us, I have this. You can email me at ryan@passiveinvestor.net, or you can email membership@passiveinvestor.net. You can call us here. I think this is Lisa's number. So yeah, we can open it up for Q&A, or we can discuss anything else you want to, Steve.
Yeah, that would be great. And I have to say, you certainly have triggered something with some of our participants, as I got a bunch of emails asking about non-recourse lenders as well already. So you certainly have given some people something to think about. I got a handful of them, and I think I've got most of them answered, but I did put my information in the chat box for everybody, or you can just reach out to IRA specialists. You'll get the exact same list. Anyway, in the Q&A, I didn't think I saw anything. Sarah, have you seen anything come through that hasn't been addressed, or does anybody have some questions they want to throw in the chat? I'm sorry, I cut you off, Sarah.
Oh, I was just saying I haven't seen anything on my end.
Okay.
The presentation was so good that nobody has any questions. That's how you know.
That's how you know.
I answered all the questions.
Indeed. I've seen a few of that. I've made many of those presentations that have been so clear that there are no questions.
No questions. Yeah,
Exactly,
no questions asked.
Exactly.
They're just getting ready to go buy some real estate through a non-recourse lender. I like it.
Exactly. Actually, I did see one pop in, and it touched on something that you had mentioned, and it's something that we tend to talk about a lot as IRA specialists. And it's asking you to talk a little bit about UBIT. I'll take part of this. It asks if isn't it taxable income, which the answer is yes. One thing I'll just kind of put to that is that it's not taxable to you personally. It's taxed to the IRA. So it doesn't bleed over into your taxes for the year. But you mentioned the ability to deduct against it. Ryan, you want to add some more to it?
Yeah, and actually, I was in Dallas for a presentation a couple weeks ago, and you guys touched on this. So I don't think it was the first time I had actually seen it kind of answered. So yes, obviously UBIT probably does apply in this instance, but because it's being taxed and it's real estate, this was the answer. And obviously talk to a CPA about what the specifics are. Just like outside of an IRA, you can depreciate against the asset. You know, the IRS says that a house is a depreciating asset. And so there's a certain percentage of depreciation that you can actually use in order to offset that income. And so,
correct.
And that's something you talk to your CPA as to how much and what you could do and what the cost basis is. But yeah, it's taxed, and it does get taxed in your IRA. You're not paying for it personally, right, to Steve's point, but that, I would imagine a good portion of that, unless you're just completely killing it on the cash flow, actually, could be depreciated.
Well, I mean, yeah. And this is something we do discuss with clients a fair amount. And I'll tell you what I tell everybody. Just because UBIT may apply doesn't mean it's a deal you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Because to Ryan's point,
that's
the
right.
IRS, yes, they're making something taxable in an IRA, which typically they do not. But they're not totally unfair in that they are going to let you use those standard deductions against it. And by the time it has been netted out, anecdotally, I can tell you, I've seen many cases of where the UBIT is really just insignificant in terms of what its impact is. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to consider there. Now, just to emphasize too, if this is the first time anybody's hearing about UBIT, it is only applicable in cases where there is debt financing related to a property you're buying in your IRA. And what it relates to is the income that you're generating. So like the rental income. And again, by the time you net it all out, it really may not be that big a deal. And, Ryan, I'm sure you can make this case as well. Using debt is a great way to leverage your IRAs in a broader way. So it lets you basically have potentially the ability to buy more. So it's again a strategy that people will use despite that small little wrinkle in the process.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. I mean, paying taxes is not the end of the world. We're talking about, I mean, some of these returns were 200%. I mean, would you? This is what they're saying in that presentation was. If you got 200% return, would you mind paying a little tax on that? I mean, of course,
right.
We'd rather keep it, right? But hey, I mean, is it the end of the world to pay taxes on a little bit of this?
It's a little really bit, yeah. I mean, if you're still ahead in a very big way, next.
Yeah.
All right, got another question for you. It says, what is your company's average turnaround from accepted offer to tenant occupied? So Passive Investor Network What's the average there?
Yeah, so it depends on the scope of the scope of the actual rehab, right? So on a build to rent, we're saying it's going to take 6 months to get these things up and running. On a normal basis, average on a typical conventional deal that's a fix and buy and hold, it's probably about 3 months. The thing is we actually bring properties into inventory. So your portfolio advisor sits down and you go through your strategy as to what you're going to buy, what type of properties you're going to buy, how many you're going to buy, et cetera, et cetera. And then he presents you with the properties in inventory that meet that criteria. So there's not really an accepted offer. It's literally, here's a property, this meets your requirements, let's move forward. The realty advisor takes you through the transaction process. We work really well with Quest in terms of getting everything signed and getting the money moved around through the title company. And, once you close on that, which should be within 2 weeks or less, depending on the lender, the project itself is, like I said, 90 days on average. Renting something now, we schedule 30 days.
Okay.
Because that's prudent and that's been kind of the typical thing. But a lot of these things are, a lot of times we're in the same market, so we have multiple tenants for one property. So our leasing team can get these things rented in a week or so. Great. So not a whole lot of time. Mm-hmm. Depending on the asset, depending on the size of the project.
Yeah, and thank you for that nod to our world-class customer service.
Oh man,
also is very speedy.
That's the only reason it makes these. I mean, Quest allows you, if you were trying to do this with another company that did self-directed IRAs, I don't think it, I mean, of course it's feasible, but for us on our side of it, I mean, we would just be beating our head against the wall because you're trying to get a hold of somebody. These things have to move quickly. Real estate, it needs to move. And if you're waiting for someone to call, waiting for a supervisor, waiting for someone to sign this paperwork, at some point it wouldn't be worth it for anybody. So Quest really, not only obviously they have the relationships with the lenders, they have relationships with companies like ours, like Penn. Right. They facilitate it in a way that makes it tenable. So yeah, definitely. That's easy to say, Steve.
All right. Got another one here. It says, do you finance commercial properties?
I don't finance anything. So I'm working with the lenders. So yes, I think the lenders on that list, definitely. I know South Star Bank is one that's here in Texas, and yeah, they love that stuff. So, they'll lend on anything that makes sense for sure.
Okay. Another question here was, how does an IRA account holder get the lead for the investment opportunity, and what's the decision process? Do you? Yeah.
So here at Penn, like I said, as a member of Penn, you have a portfolio advisor, and this person with a financial advisory background that's basically just kind of guiding you through it using real estate. Without getting too far, I know this is educational, without getting too far into it. You have a portfolio advisor. And so that advisor actually brings you properties that Penn has in inventory, and says, hey, okay, here's the purchase price, here's the scope, here's the bid, and here are the returns. Here are the estimated returns on that property.
Yeah.
And does this, then you kind of look at what your goals are, look at what your strategy is, and really it becomes binary. It's, does this make sense or does this not make sense? For what it's either pass or fail. So, that at Penn, that's the process. If you went and did it outside of Penn, then you'd literally just go and let's say you made an offer on a property in MLS, it would be the same thing. You'd be making the offer through your IRA. So Quest would help you facilitate that in signing all the paperwork and the contracts and the offer. And then you would have a pre-qualification from a lender saying, hey, here's this IRA entity is approved for X amount of dollars. And then you'd have your proof of funds from Quest saying, okay, here they have this much money. They could do this deal. Once that contract gets accepted, then you can go out and do the inspection process and everything you would normally do on a typical real estate transaction.
Right.
Then once you close on that property, the title company would work with Quest to get all the paperwork signed, get the monies exchanged, get the lending docs signed, and then you would probably want to put that through a property management company. Or if you're going to fix and flip, you would have to get it with your broker.
Right.
So I don't know if that answers the question specifically, but at Penn, we have these properties in inventory. Outside of Penn, you could definitely, Quest can help you facilitate that, with the help of a real estate broker, title company, and the lender.
Yeah. Here's a good one. And this is one I certainly would like an update on as well. What are you finding in the way, or in your experience, are you seeing in the way of non-recourse loan rates? Do you have?
Yeah. So actually, I have here, and I got South Star Banks because I have a good relationship with them. The owner actually lives here in Houston. I've had lunch with him a couple times. So they'll do 30-year amortization. And they have an option of a 5-year ARM at 5.99, a 7-year at 6.49, or a 10-year at 6.99. And the loan to value is 60%. It says loan to value. That it used to be loan to cost. If it's loan to value, that's tremendous. That means they'll take the ARV and do that, but that's new if it's loan to value. But there you go. It's around 6%, which is pretty good for a non-recourse loan.
For non-recourse, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But in my experience, and again, maybe you can touch on this in terms of the down payment or the kind of money up front. What are you seeing there? Because they will require you to put more in to have more kind of quote unquote skin in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as opposed to outside where, it's 75%, that 15% is a pretty big difference. It's, anywhere from 60 to 100,000, just depending on the size of the project, size of the loan, relative to the size of the project. Right. So, it's going up because values are going up. But I think you'd probably be, you look at on a $200,000 loan, they're going to loan you $120,000, so you'd be $80,000 out of pocket.
Okay,
and that's loan to cost. Now, if they do loan to value, Steve, that's a horse of a different color. That's a game changer because loan to values where zero money out of pocket deals came. Because they'll loan 100% of whatever. Now, if you could find those, I'm not saying you could find those, but ultimately, your out of pocket is relative to what kind of deal you can get, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And that's a whole nother
subject.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I got a question here. Yeah. It asks, what other cities does Penn operate in outside of Houston, or does it need to be in Houston?
We are currently in Houston. So we're a startup. We're a 3-year-old company, 1 year being a pandemic year, and so we had this kind of idea that we're going to, fulfill investment from pillar to post. So the idea is to be in Houston and to kind of, putting this all together. I know there's a long answer to a short question, but it's not an easy answer. Putting this all together, a lot of people can offer you deals. A lot of people can offer you construction. A lot of people can offer you property management, but having or portfolio advising, but putting this all together in a very smooth, very consistent process it's been a challenge, but we're doing it. We're doing it. So the idea is to take that system and process, pick it up, and go to other markets, as we get comfortable to do so. So those markets, I've actually been looking at those. Will probably be. I been to Chicago a couple times, looking at stuff there. It's very interesting, and San Antonio. But again, for now, Penn is only doing stuff in Houston, and it's because Houston's such a hell of a real estate market right now.
If you're going to be in one place, that's not a bad place to be.
Right. Yeah. Right. but definitely want to get out to some other and get some different models and take advantage of some of the things that's happened all across the country. But we want to make sure that process and system is solid.
Any city that has 3 beltways,
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Just pick one. Yeah.
Exactly.
What loop do you want to be in?
So another question is talking about your management fees. I know that probably has a long answer to a short question, but do you want to touch on that a little?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of you're talking about, well, I don't know if they're talking just about specifically property management. So our members, so we have a membership fee of, well, I won't go too far unless you want me to. We're a member organization, right? So you join Penn and you get the benefits of that. So our management fee is only $100 a month. So that's it. And that includes taking all the calls, collecting all the rent. We have a portal through Appfolio, which is great. So it gives you all the financials you need. Everything is there on your dashboard. And yeah, it's $100 a month is what we charge for property management. But that's for our members, right?
Okay. And so yeah, it just kind of another one came in. So there's the management fee and there's the membership fee.
Yeah. Our membership fee is $6,500 for the first year, and then $1,000 a year after that. For Quest, it's $5,000. So we knock off $1,500 for Quest folks.
Okay. And
so $5,000 to get into the network, and then $1,000 a year after that. So and then there's no fees along the lines of anything else. Obviously when the brokerage leases a property, they charge 1 month's rent, which is the normal thing. It's $100 for property management. They do make money to pay the acquisition team on every property, but it's relative to the market and on the construction itself. So there's no more fees associated with that. And when you're looking at a property, when you're doing the due diligence on a property with your portfolio advisor, everything's included in that number. So all the returns,
there's a lot of value add.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. All right. So we're coming to the top of the hour, but this came in. I wanted to save it to last. We'll make this the last question. And if you didn't get your question answered, shoot an email over to Ryan and his team on the email that's on your screen. But wanted to throw this out to you. I've been getting questions like this a lot. And so I thought I'd see what you have in the way of insight on it yourself. It's saying, in light of the bill that may possibly get passed restricting IRA investments, do you have any kind of insight on that? I know real estate in general isn't, really kind of in the crosshairs of this. It's more on the entity side, but lending and real estate itself doesn't seem to be the focus of the bill. What are your thoughts, or do you have insight on that?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, it sucks that they're doing it.
It's a horrible idea.
It's a horrible idea. But I mean, look, we've written a lot of checks. They got to pay for them somehow, man. I mean, so here's what I love about real estate. Real estate is one of those things that everybody on both sides of the aisle can agree on because they all own it. They are all real estate investors, right? No matter what. So every law and every rule that's made for real estate is usually pretty good. It's the golden rule. He has all the gold, makes all the rules. And so, this, and from what I understand, and I'm no expert on the changes of the bill and the changes that they're doing, using your self-directed IRA in order to purchase real estate is not going to be affected, from what I understand. It's private placement that they're kind of is in the crosshairs, which is just an insane thing to me, because there's so many companies that benefit, so many different entities that benefit from private placement, so many good things that are happening. I mean, to fix a lot of the problems that we have are through private placement or retirement accounts. It's such a short-sighted view, where like, hey, where can we get money? Let's just take it from here, damn the consequences. But I mean, that's my opinion, but from what I understand, this specifically is not something that's going to be affected. And I tend to think it's because, look, they don't want to rock the boat in real estate. Real estate is the golden goose. I mean, it's where everything begins and ends, and they all own it, and they're going to protect it. It's universal, So
as we're wrapping up here, Ryan is right. It really is more the entity side that is potentially at risk here. Do you guys do anything on the multifamily side? Multifamily in Houston, it's pretty bought out. And so one thing we're really, really excited about is co-living. So that's our multifamily approach. So we take a house and we turn it into an 8-bedroom and we rent it out by the room. And you have the scalability of multifamily and the returns of and all the benefits of single family. But to us, I mean, things are, D-class properties are going off at, a 6 cap or a 5 cap. It's just, there's way more meat on the bone in single family in Houston right now than there is multifamily. It's not because we're opposed to doing multifamily, but PIN, the Passive Investor Network, is always going to go for whatever model, makes the most return for the clients. I mean, that's what we're talking about. And, multifamily is great. Office is great. It all makes money, but what makes the most money right now in Houston it's not multifamily. And if we could scale it to the level of multifamily, what difference does it make? Yeah. Okay. Well, just one last note as we're finishing up here. I did just slip a link into the chat box if you guys want to take a look at it or copy it really quickly. It is a link to our YouTube channel in which we had a recent Q&A session with Quincy Long, the founder of Quest, who was talking about the potential of the tax bill. I happened to be with Quincy when he first found out about it. We were driving in a car from Richmond to Baltimore, and I got to hear a lot about it. So that was kind of interesting and a cool insight that I got to have on it. But the Q&A session is really good in terms of the information that it provides. So and if you don't get a chance to look at it, you will be able to find it through our website as well. There's actually a link to it as well on one of our banners. So with that, Ryan, I think we are, again, right at the top of the hour.
Awesome.
I want to thank you for all the information that you shared with us. This was a great presentation. And any final thoughts?
No, I mean, I love Quest. Yeah, get out there. I mean, how much money were they saying they were sitting on the sidelines there? You're saying a couple $100 million?
350. I think it's maybe even more. Yeah, we got people who are looking to deal.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. Put that money into play. Now's the time. So thank you guys. I mean, Quest and you and Haley and the Longs, I mean, have just been great to us, and we really appreciate it. We love the partnership we have. It's very synergistic. So thank you guys so much, and thanks for everyone who came and spent their Saturday afternoon with us.
All right. Yes. All right. Thank you. And again, thank you. Please, you've got our contact information here at Quest. Mm-hmm. If there are questions that you have for Ryan, you have his contact information. But don't forget, if there's anything that we can do to help, feel free to reach out to us anytime. All right. So that concludes our self-directed IRA Saturday for today. Hope everybody has a great rest of your weekend.
Thanks, Steve. Have a great weekend, buddy.
Bye.
Bye.